So yesterday we got like a monsoon almost, just out of nowhere, just super pouring rain. And we just thought it was just a lot of rain. Supposedly in 1 hour or so, we got 2.5 inches of rain. But one of our main highways nearby flooded completely. So without like a higher car, like our van would have gotten freaking flooded and just destroyed trying to go through this water. Supposedly, I haven't seen it. Apparently news agencies and all were out there, but there were two vehicles, I think, in the trees nearby. So I guess a tornado or a series of tornadoes came out, and the flooding and just ripped trees and limbs everywhere. I heard stories of people driving home and like limbs just falling all over the road, and don't ask me why they went ahead and drove home versus seeking a safe shelter. But yeah, I guess it was bad. We got lucky and it really didn't hit us that bad. I guess the drought we had, until like last month or a month and a half ago, just made sure that our ground wasn't so saturated, and it's not flooded. The water either went back further, down or down into the ground, because the drought just made it, it's weird because even though we're in a swamp, we have periods where it's like we're in a desert, and everything was brown, all the grass, nothing was growing. You could walk on it and be crunching, like crunchy grass. And the dirt in certain places were like cracking like a desert. And you might think, well, if you're in a swamp, you would have it worse, when a flood sweeps in. But the swamp is used to that. It can be bad 4 or 5 months out of the year. But in certain, if we compare this to like some city that rarely gets flooding, and then they just have 2.5 inches of rain in an hour or two, it decimates them. Those places are not ready for that. We get their water, on normal circumstances, and it just comes down, flows down through the, low areas, and we get it. But they don't, not normally. But if they get that much rain, the major highways get flooded. And if it's for a long enough period of time, I remember like on I-75, they closed at least one of the lanes off because they said just the weight of the cars going on the pavement in that flooding zone would make the road sink or break or something off into the swamp. I think that was by Payne's Prairie, and there was like a 15 or 20 car pileup, I think, a few years ago in that area as well. So not a good place to be for people that are in a rush to get home or do for the vacations or whatever. Not a good place to be when you get major flooding either, hurricanes and stuff like that. So we can see some new growth here on one of our avocados that got toasted in the sun. Luckily it was in a pot and we moved it to the shade, and now it's going to get happy again. So look at this papaya here, still in bloom, but unfortunately we don't have a pollinator for it yet. There's a second genetically different papaya there. No signs of blooming. And we have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other ones just around the area, but nothing is blooming yet. We're back at our largest avocado that is finally showing signs of life. And I just want to talk briefly about this. I talked to a few people about, the sun and stuff, and there are definitely variable or different experiences, but the majority said you need to help block it from the sun for the first couple of years, or you need to give it full sun exposure on the east side and block the evening sun from the west, or it'll scorch it like this. One person's experience, they said that they had to put something around it forever, because even no matter what, in the full sun, one of their plants or a few other plants just gets burned badly each year for even an older tree. Maybe a lot of it is dependent on which cultivar you have, which can tolerate more sun exposure and such. Now, avocados are heavy water drinkers, you know. That's fine, but even the avocado we had sitting in a tub of water for like weeks, if not months, in mostly sun, still got scorched. So it seems like there's at least 4 issues with growing the cold hardy varieties here. One, which seems to be the least of the issue, is how much cold it can tolerate, protecting it from the cold. 2 would be like root rot, which is why we're putting them in aged wood chip alternative beds, mycorrhizal beds. Third, and this is probably why people say you need that eastern exposure, eastern full sun exposure, so you get the morning exposure, you know, where these trees aren't going to shade out your sunlight in the morning because of mildew and fungal issues from the condensation and dew and stuff that forms based on the day and night temperatures, where in the morning it's soaking wet. So that sun in the morning needs to dry it as fast as possible to minimize that issue. And number 4 is obviously some cultivars or many cultivars can't handle the full sun, either temporarily or in some cases people have said permanently for some cultivars. Knowing those things, those 4 issues with avocados, that's going to help me next time we go to plant more, because I got 2 grafted ones left and 2 or 3 seedlings, and hopefully many more seedlings and possibly more grafted ones in the future. And hopefully me relaying this between my experiences with the sunburn and other people's experiences, you know, with how they've been successful or have failed, will help anybody that is watching our garden vlog that wants to do this in a similar climate. And hopefully this will lead us all to success growing these avocados.